So I mean, is there? And we're going to move on after this because I don't want to spend the entire hour talking about Shonda Rhimes finding a man. But is there a type of guy?
If you know anybody, please, you and your wife can set me up next time you see me.
We may take you up on that. Hello there, everyone. Craig Melvin here. I bring you greetings from my basement and also my bourbon bar. We do our podcast here because it's called Glass Half Full, which is generally how I view life, and so does my next guest. Shonda Rhimes is in a class all by herself. Everything from Scandal to Grey's Anatomy to Bridgerton, but there's a lot you probably don't know about Shonda Rhimes. She was, and to a certain extent still is, painfully shy. She wasn't comfortable in her own skin for a long time. She's a single mother of three who's actually still looking for Mr. Right. I'm really excited about this conversation for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, you know, Shonda has changed the way that millions of people see themselves because of her characters, because of her stories. But Shonda's she's also changed the way that she sees herself. And I think you're going to discover a lot more about Shonda Rhimes over the next few minutes. At least I know I did. I hope you enjoy this conversation. So, Shonda Rhimes, welcome, welcome. Thank you again for joining me. You know, we like to start all of these episodes with a toast.
Mm-hmm.
I always start with the same thing. It's always a little bourbon. What do you have?
I have a very, very pretty, overly enhanced drink that I made.
That's cute. That's very cute.
I like to do the assignment correctly, so I came with a big
well
drink.
Done. First of all, I mean, you've had such an extraordinary career, such an extraordinary life so far. What are we toasting? What is Shonda Rhimes toasting right now?
You know, I feel like the defining moment in my life was the moment when I decided to say yes to everything that scared me, because I feel like there's a before and an after there. So that is what we're toasting.
Cheers to that. Cheers to Shonda saying yes. Would you say, generally speaking, you are a half glass full kind of lady, or are you a half glass empty kind of lady?
I think I'm a glass half full kind of person. I really am. I feel like I'm more optimistic about things than most people are. And I'm always looking to see sort of what's on the horizon versus worrying about what already happened.
Have you always been that way?
You know what? I've been that way since I had kids, I think. I think it's really easy to be pessimistic about the world and about life when it's just you. But when you're looking towards a future for somebody else, you really can't hang on to that. That's a dark way to be.
So would you say that becoming a mother was the moment that sort of probably changed who you are the most?
I guess so. I mean, it had a big, giant effect on me for sure. I would say like becoming a mother makes it possible for you to stop thinking about yourself as the most important person in the world, which is really helpful. You know, if you're both a pessimist or anybody with an ego, it's a really good reality check. And I definitely think it changes you and your priorities.
So do you think that you would have started saying yes had you not become a mom? Did one lead to the other, or were they?
Oh, interesting. You know, when I started saying yes, my girls were, I think, 10, 2, and 1 years old. So they were tiny.
Okay.
And I don't know that becoming a mother would have, like not becoming a mother would have changed that, maybe. But I do think I became a mom, and that idea of all the stuff you do to take care of yourself, to make yourself better, that goes out the window for a while. It really does. And being reminded of it and being reminded of the fact that, you know, there is value to taking care of you in all the different ways is really a big deal for most women who have kids.
One of the many things that I've always found fascinating about you, and I don't know if a lot of folks actually know this, it's in the book, and we're going to talk about the 10-year anniversary of the book in just a moment. You were painfully shy for a long time.
Yeah, painfully shy and embarrassingly so, you know, in a way that felt I was very uncomfortable in my own skin. I would rather be at home with a book in my pajamas than almost anything else. And to get a job where you're suddenly in charge, you know, I got a television show, suddenly you're in charge of 300 plus people, was a horrific shock to my system when it happened because I don't think I was thinking about it that way. You know, writer's an interior life job, so it was a big change.
Why do you think you were so shy? What was it? Was it something about your childhood that made you that way?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's something to the fact that I'm the youngest of 6. And in a family like that, it's everything is very safe and cocooned. I'm always the baby. I feel like there's always somebody else to do something for you in a lot of ways, perhaps. And it didn't help that I spent my entire life living in books. I read constantly. I was in my imagination constantly. So the outside world didn't really hold much sway for me in a lot of ways.
And I gather that your parents, they cultivated this interest as much as they could from a young age. The writing, this voracious reader that you apparently were as well. They really encouraged this.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody in my family, my parents were big readers, my siblings were big readers. So there was a lot of Saturday afternoons where everybody was just laying around reading a book that felt normal. My mother and father made a rule for me that they would never tell me I couldn't read something. And so that was like this power. So I would go to the library and I would like pick up French Lieutenant's Woman, and the librarian would be like, "You can't read that. You're too young." I was like 7. And I was like, "My mom says I can read whatever I want." And my mother would come down to the library and say, "Don't tell her she can't read something." And it was the best thing ever because I felt like I was being like this maverick in terms of reading these books. When you're 7, you don't really know what they mean in the way that, somebody older would know what they mean. But I read those books and loved them.
I love that. I want to go back. What prompted the year of yes?
Um, my career had taken off. I had, Grey's Anatomy. I had Scandal. I think we had How to Get Away with Murder. Like it had all taken off in a big way. And I would like get all these invitations for things. Like I would be invited to like by the Prince of Monaco. I would be invited to all these insane things. And one Thanksgiving, I was sitting with my sister, my oldest sister, and she was making Thanksgiving dinner. Well, as our family was going to come over. And I was telling her about all these fancy invitations I'd gotten. I'm invited here and I'm invited there and I'm this. And she finally just stopped and said, "Shonda, are you going to do any of these things?" And I remember thinking like, what is she crazy? I was like, absolutely not. And she just thought that was the strangest thing. And she said, what's really sad is you have all these invitations. You have this whole family here to support you. To be with the kids if you wanted to go do something. You never say yes to anything. And it took me a while, but I really realized that she was right. It was really true. This idea that it didn't matter what somebody asked. If it felt unfamiliar to me, if it felt like a big social commitment, if it felt like me talking in public, if it felt like anything out of my comfort zone, I said no. And I decided that I was going to spend a year saying yes to everything that scared me.
But why were you saying no? Like because I think for a lot of people, you're Shonda Rhimes. It's like, I mean, there are people who go out every night who've done far less and who
It,
enjoy being celebrated. But what was it, you think,
I
even after you'd
don't
achieved your
know.
success?
No, I feel like success was pretty damaging for me in the beginning. I had this moment of panic every time somebody wanted to pay attention to me or there was anything to do with like lauding my work or me. I just felt really uncomfortable with it. I felt exposed. I'm not a person who lived an exterior life. So for me, the idea that I would be approached from the outside, my whole world was my imagination for real. Like, and I was very comfortable with that. And I loved working on my shows because in a lot of ways, I was living vicariously through all my characters, right? And you don't even think about that. Anything I wanted to do, my characters did. And I remember being in New York when it was clear that Grey's was this gigantic hit and there were people rocking the bus with a cast in it. And I woke up one morning and Maureen Dowd had written an article about me. And I remember so clearly, like calling my producing partner, Betsy, and saying, "We have to get out of here. We have to get out of New York." And she was like, "Why?" I was like, "There's too much attention. Like, this is terrible." And she, of course, thought I was crazy. She was like, "This is the best thing that could happen." For me, it felt really strange. And then, things got weird. How many writers do you know, TV writers do you know, who you know them by name or by face? Like, people know who I am and I'm a writer, which is not supposed to be, in my mind, not supposed to be how it worked. I was supposed to be the person in the background, happily, telling my stories. To suddenly be front and center was a really scary time for me. It just, for a really shy, really introverted person, it felt like torture for a while. It really did. And I had to figure out how to get over that. And I think this experience really helped me. And, I understand these are like diamond problems, like, oh, poor, rich writer lady, people like you. But it was really confusing for the way I live my life and my brain. I also had this feeling very much of, like, why does anybody want to talk to me? And I know that that's silly and I'm over that now. But the first thing that happened to really make me realize that I had to start saying yes to everything was that I was invited to an event in Washington, D.C. And when I got there, I was told that I was going to be sitting with President and Mrs. Obama. Nobody asked me. They just told me. And I went and I had an amazing time. And it was fantastic. But I was so nervous, but I had this great time. And I went home and I thought that was a once in a lifetime incredible experience. And then I realized that if somebody had asked me if I wanted to sit with them, I would have said no. I would have absolutely, under no circumstances would I have said yes to that. That sounds terrifying. Why in the world would they want to talk to me? What do I have to say? It was that kind of thing.
Did the Obamas provide feedback on Grey's Anatomy during the meal?
I got a lot of feedback about Scandal, for sure.
Oh, you know
Yes.
what? It's funny. I read that Mrs. Obama was a big Scandal fan.
She is a big Scandal fan. She really wanted me to know what I had gotten wrong about the way the White House ran, which was interesting.
Is it also true that when you decided to do the residence, that she was sort of an unofficial consultant as well?
No, that is not true.
No.
No.
When it came to the layout of the White House, there was no.
No, I mean, Michael Smith, who was the White House designer who designed the residence for the Obamas back in the day, they had him in there and he was in there a lot. So I talked to him a lot. He designed my house, so I talked to him a lot about it. But, we'd already become very clear about what the White House was and how it ran back when we were doing Scandal. So the residence was more of what we already knew.
I want to go back to your childhood. You mentioned
Yes.
you were one of six, the
Yes.
youngest of six, right?
Yes, I'm the youngest of six.
Your parents, every time I see them, they make me smile because they remind me a lot of my own parents. How much joy and pride have they taken in all of your professional success?
Well, in my family, I know they're immensely proud. I really do. I know that they're proud because my mother pays attention to everything. My father, hangs up any single thing that he finds that comes about me and saves it. I know they're immensely proud and they've told me they're proud. But in day-to-day life, my parents are like, you're still the youngest kid in the family. You still like, it's your turn to wash the dishes over here at family dinner. They're proud, but they're not interested in suggesting that they're any less proud of their other kids. My mother says it all the time. She's like, I'm proud of you, just like I'm proud of all your siblings.
And they're still young enough and healthy enough to enjoy it all, to enjoy seeing the fruits of their labor. For me, at least, that's one of those things that always sort of moves me. Like, yeah, okay, maybe it's cool. I get to do this little morning show every day, but the fact that my mom and dad can watch it every morning and send me texts about my tie choice or the fact that I look tired, like that always makes my heart smile.
I agree. I mean, I think a lot about how hard my parents worked to raise us, how hard six kids, not easy, and how hard they worked to make sure there were opportunities for us. I always say, like, my mom was like an invisible advance man for my entire life. You know what I mean? Like, going forward
Yes.
and making sure that anybody who suggested that this little black girl couldn't do what she wanted to do, that person was out of the way almost before I even knew they existed. She was not going to have it. And so seeing how much work and how much effort and how much love and care they put into us, I know that people love their parents, but I think my parents are pretty spectacular. Like, they're probably two of the best people I know on the planet.
How old were you when you adopted your first child?
I was 32.
32. It- it- how did you decide at 32 that you wanted to become, by choice, a single mother?
I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Like, that was never a question in my life. I could always imagine that. Could I always imagine a husband? Not so much. Like, I wasn't that person.
Why?
I'm a loner. I don't know. Like, I just was, like little girls dream of their weddings. I would play mom, but I would never play like wedding or do any of those things. It just didn't happen. I wasn't that kid. And my parents have been married forever and have the most spectacular marriage. So I have this amazing example right in front of me of two people who are like literally made for each other. But it never was a priority for me in that way. But what really happened was, Harper's born 9 months and 2 days after 9/11.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I had rented a house in Vermont for like, it was my first big, like, I have some money, I'm going to do something. And it was not that much money, but I rented this house in Vermont for a month to write. And so I had this house all rented and I flew there and I was going to just sort of navel gaze and think about myself and do what you imagine writers do in houses in Vermont. And I got there and the next morning 9/11 happened. And I remember being isolated in this place where I knew nobody, watching this thing unfold. The lady who I'd rented the house from lived near the 9/11 site. And so I never heard from her again. And it was just the scariest time. And I remember thinking, like, there are all these things I always wanted to do with my life. And maybe I'm never going to get to do them. And number one on that list was adopt a baby, become a mom. It was just the number one thing on the list. And so I literally came home. When I got home from Vermont, I went and found an adoption attorney. And that was the first step.
And after the first adoption, you enjoyed it so much, you're like, you know what? I'm going to do this 2 more times.
I would say I had Harper, then I had 37 actors because then I had Grey's and Scandal, and we had How to Go with Murder. Like I had all of this stuff going on. And it wasn't until I realized that Harper was going to turn 10 and she was going to be an only child if I didn't get it together. And I can't imagine that. I mean, growing up in such a big family, I cannot imagine the only child thing. And I realized I had to get it together, actors or no actors, job or no job. And so I then said, I'm going to have 2 more. And I went from there.
I want to go back to the husband thing for a second here because you write men very well. I mean,
I do.
Your characters are, they're just.
I'm not saying I don't want to get married anymore. Like that's like that didn't change. But at the time, it was never like at the top of my list when 9/11 happened wasn't, oh my God, I have to find somebody to spend the rest of my life with. It was, oh my God, I'm not going to become a mother. I have to do that. So that's just how my brain works.
When you write a man, where does that come from?
Oh, I don't know. That comes from wherever I write all the characters. I mean, I had great men in my life. I have great examples of great men. I have great examples of bad men, which we all do, and bad people. But I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you where any of my characters come from. But I always like to say, in the beginning, when Scandal first happened, I remember being asked, like, how does it feel to finally have the voice of a Black woman on screen? And I was like, Derek Shepherd spoke as the voice of a Black woman. I wrote all those people. So they're all me in some capacity. And they are. So I don't know where a character comes from. I don't like to say like it's magical. They appear, but they appear.
Is it hard for you to date now?
It's hard to meet people on a level where the question, what do you do, comes to me and they actually mean it. You know what I mean? So there's already a preconceived thing ahead of meeting me, which is a bummer.
What's the preconceived thing you think?
I write popular shows. People have opinions about them. They're mothers and sisters and, I love your shows. And it's that becomes kind of the conversation. Yeah. And to me, like that's talking about work versus talking about life. And I think I try to be good at that, but it's hard. Also, once again, I am innately shy. So my sister says I have absolutely no radar for anybody being interested in me at all. She's like, you're terrible at that. You never know when someone's interested.
So, I mean, is there, and we're going to move on after this because I don't want to spend the entire hour talking about Shonda Rhimes finding a man, but is there a type of guy? Like if Shonda Rhimes could like write the perfect guy for Shonda Rhimes, what would he be like? What would he look like?
Oh, I don't know what he would look like. I'm open on looks. I think for me, this most attractive thing about somebody is them being intelligent, like really smart, and having an opinion about the world. Like to me, that's interesting. Like you have to be somebody who wants to be involved in the world, who, I don't care if you're an activist or into philanthropy or what, you have to be somebody who's involved in the world and cares about the world. And you have to be really intelligent. If you know anybody, please, you and your wife can set me up next time you see me.
We may take you up on that. Okay. But I love that you are still open to that. Are your kids ever like, Mom, Like, I know this guy, or you should do this, or you should meet this guy. Are they ever like that?
Harper was for a while. Like Harper really was always. She would like I would go on dates and she would like run to the door just as we were leaving and say, "Make the magic happen." And she was really cute when she was young. But no, I think the other girls, I'm mom to them, and so
Yeah.
they're also always like they're very upset when I put on makeup and go anywhere. Like they're like, "What have you done to your face?" They're those kids who they like me as me and at home, and they can't imagine me as a separate person. And I get that. I'm their mom. So for a while that's going to be okay. But yeah, they're not into that stuff.
I mean, you do accept the fact that I would imagine for a lot of guys, you're probably intimidating.
That's kind of what I meant when I was saying what I was saying. I think maybe there's an intimidation factor, which comes from the fact that I'm shy and therefore I always say like if you're shy and you're well known, that mix makes you seem like you might not be a nice person or you might be aloof or you might be cold. If you're shy and nobody knows you, people go, "Oh, that poor shy person." But when you're well known, they're like, "You don't really have the right to be that way." So I do think it might come off that way. And I try really hard to not give that vibe off.
I don't think you give that vibe off. I don't. But so let's go back to the work. Let's go back to the profession
Yes.
because it's. I mean, you look at your resume, and it really is. It's pretty doggone remarkable. Is there one show that you're proudest of?
I think the show that I know the show that I'm proudest of. And it's interesting because I'm really proud of all the shows in different ways. But after I wrote Queen Charlotte, the prequel to Bridgerton, I really said to myself, if I never write another thing again, I'm fine. Like I loved writing it. I loved the way it came out. I loved probably, generally I would have said Scandal is my favorite show, but I think it's because I got to do like this little jewel box of 8 episodes and they were exactly as I wanted them to be. I really love that one. I also, I think about a lot. It's about a woman coming into power and figuring out who she is and standing up for herself and standing in her own shoes.
Who are we discussing?
Oh, well, that is impertinent. None of your business.
So I think there's something about that. I love that one. My second favorite, or my longtime favorite, will always be Scandal.
Do I owe you now, Fitz? Do I get to show how worthy I am of your sacrifices now, Fitz?
Scandal was, I knew what I was doing at that point and got to play in the sandbox versus being really worried that someone was going to take the sandbox away.
Shonda, take me back to that moment that you decided, you know what? ABC's been good to me. ABC's helped make me, but professionally, but Netflix.
I mean, I could feel a sea change. I feel like everybody should have been able to feel that sea change. When Netflix was making The Crown and they were making these shows that were just spectacular, like just these really beautiful shows with these great budgets. And I realized that I was spending more time watching Netflix than I was watching network television. And I
Wow.
felt pretty much that seemed to be true of almost anybody I knew. And I saw the budgets and I'd been at ABC for a long time and we'd had a great relationship. It'd been very good to me. I felt like I'd reached a point there. Betsy and I talked about this. I reached a point there where I could solve any problem in 2 seconds. At the beginning of Grey's Anatomy, it would take us months to solve something. And now that same thing, literally somebody would ask me, I would tell them the answer and it'd be done. I didn't have to think about it anymore. The challenges were not the same there at all. I wasn't learning anything new. I had sort of mastered what I was doing and, working at a network and working at a company like that, and was sort of ready to try something else and ready to feel, ready to feel appreciated for what I was bringing to the table in a very different way. And Netflix was really offering me creative freedom. Because, when Ted asked me what I wanted, I said, I just want to be able to make television and everybody leave me alone. And he was like, great, fine, do it. And that's sort of how I went in there with this great feeling of you're going to make TV. No one's going to ask you a million questions. You're going to be left alone while you're doing it. And that has been a wonderful thing.
Bridgerton's back.
Mm-hmm.
And what else are we going to get from that ecosystem?
Well, right now we're in big development cycle. So we're close to a point where we will be letting people know what's coming next. But we're not ready to start letting people know what's coming next at this exact moment. I
What
never
is
like
that?
I never like to announce something until we're ready to go with it, because then people get invested or excited or ask too many questions.
Well, people are already excited.
I know.
But beyond Queen Charlotte, like, are we going to see something else come out of?
Of the Bridgerton world, you mean?
Yeah.
I think definitely. I mean, I think that's an area that we're excited about, and know that that could be really rich and really mined well. I've always said that I thought if we were going to do something like that, Violet would be a great person to tell the story about, the Bridgerton mom. So yeah, that's a possibility. But also we're just looking at, we're working on developing, well, not even working, we're currently developing other projects that are a very different world from Bridgerton, because while Bridgerton's amazing, we always continue to want to stretch and grow.
Wait a minute. Now, what kind of other worlds are we talking here? Because you and I once talked about sci-fi. Do you remember this?
I remember it. I still talk about sci-fi constantly, and that is a genre that I'm still really interested in and have been fiddling around in. Yeah, I don't know when we're going to have a sci-fi project, because that's a little on me, but I do know it's something I really, really want. And I want kind of an action series. I think that'd be kind of a female action series.
One of the things, by the way, for whatever it's worth, my aunt really wishes that you could figure out a way to bring back Reggae Jean Page.
Your aunt and everybody else on the planet, I hear that all the time.
Is there, we can't bring him back? There's no...
I think for Reggae, he did what he came to do. And it was sort of what we said, which is, I said, you're going to come on for one season. You're going to be this big romantic lead. You're going to have this amazing part. And then you're gone. If you notice, every season is about one romance. And once you've had your romance, there's really not a lot of story that you're carrying after that. So you have this season where you're number one on the call sheet. You're the leading man. And then you're in the background. Yeah.
But, by the way, I think that's one thing at least one thing I've always enjoyed about you. Like, Shonda Rhimes will kill off a character in a heartbeat. She'll write somebody, you'll love somebody, they disappear. And it's like, that's it.
Well, my job, I always say this, my job is to be the keeper of the story. My job is not to be the keeper of the fans. My job is not to be the keeper of my friendships with actors. My job is to do what the story dictates. And that is really hard to do, but it's also really important, because if that's not where my mind is, then I'm not telling the best story I can. And I feel like people would feel that and know that. I don't think you can live in a world where your whole goal is to give the fans what they want, because what the fans want to see is Meredith and Derek holding hands on a beach for the rest of time. That'd be a very boring show.
It's not your time yet.
I look back on some of the deaths on some of the characters and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Now, in perspective. But at the time, it was what the story dictated to me so clearly that there was no other choice.
Is there a moment that you can recall when a fan came up to you and they were like, Shonda, I can't believe you did this?
A moment. That happens to me at least 3 times a week. Still. And I haven't killed anybody in a long time.
What do they come up and say?
There's a lot of, you traumatized me when you killed George. Why did you kill McDreamy? There's a lot of, that's a big question constantly.
Derek, it's okay.
And then, there's the other group of people who say that plane crash ruined my life.
The plane crashed. That's what happened. We were in a plane and it crashed. Plane crash.
Because, we killed a bunch of people in a plane crash. And I get it. For me, it was when we killed Denny. I did what the story dictated and I hated every minute of it for Izzy in that early seasons. But you do what you got to do for the story.
Wow. When you write, do you procrastinate?
I don't believe in the phrase procrastinate. I mean,
what does that mean? What do you mean you don't believe in it?
I mean, yeah, I do procrastinate all the time. But what I like to say is I'm not quite ready to write yet.
That's procrastination.
I'm a TV writer, so of course I'm going to write today. But, right after I lay down for a bunch of hours and stare at the ceiling. But there's this moment when for me, I'm thinking. So I really do shows in the way that, if I'm writing a television pilot, I spend 9 months thinking about it, not writing anything down, just 9 months thinking about it. And then I'll sit down and 2 or 3 days, I'll write the pilot. So a lot of what people call procrastinating, I like to say is just me not ready to write yet. I'm still percolating. It's
So you
it's not
you
great for people. Yeah.
you spend months before you put pen to paper, just actually thinking.
hmm And then when I can put pen to paper, then I'm done thinking. Like I can then just write the story, and that happens pretty quickly. But if I'm not done thinking, there's no point in me trying to write something.
Has that always been the process?
Yeah. I mean, for my whole life, that's been the process.
It seems like it served you well. I guess why fix it if it ain't broken, huh?
I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but for me, that's where it's worked. So I've been rewarded for it. So I'm not going to stop.
The kids want to know if you're on TikTok.
I am on TikTok.
Get up here!
Let's dance. Let's dance.
I don't think I'm very good at TikTok yet, and my children are slightly embarrassed that I'm on there, but I have fun.
Your children can't be embarrassed by you.
Oh my God, I'm the most embarrassing person. Anybody's mother is the most embarrassing person in the world. My 11-year-old has a pact with all of her friends that they will never ever watch Grey's Anatomy because how embarrassing is it that her mother wrote it? And they've all agreed. Yeah, I think it's kind of great. I mean, I think it would be weird if my children were like, my mom's super interesting and important. Nobody thinks that about their mom at that age.
You know what you should tell them? You should tell them. Sometimes I tell my kids when they complain about commercials or the news, I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, they paid for this house.
That's
They
what
paid for
I
those
say.
clothes. They paid for that food.
That I say all the time because they'll be like, I don't want to see that, or you wrote that, or what, and I'm like, that's how we make a living. And when my kids are on YouTube like scrolling or whatever, I'm like, you're ruining my profession. Like, get there, sit down, and watch some regular TV.
Fans want to know if there's any remote chance that there might be a Scandal movie.
I love my Scandal people. We have a little reunion every year at the U.S. Open. Like, we're all really, really close. I would work with them on anything. Do I think there's a Scandal movie in us? I don't know. I mean, Carrie and I have batted it back and forth. So I'm not saying no, but I'm definitely not saying yes. So I don't want people to get too excited.
So what you will say, though, is that there have been conversations about the possibility of a Scandal movie.
Just between Carrie and I, not
You-
between anybody else. I've not brought anybody else in the conversation, i.e. the people who would pay for a Scandal movie.
Well, you know what? I just saying that they're conversations, that's going to be enough to make a lot of people very happy. We've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to give you 2 questions for the road. Looking back, Shonda Rhimes, is there a moment that you would approach differently knowing what you know now?
I think there's a lifetime I would approach differently. If I knew then what I know now, I would have enjoyed everything so much more. I think I spent a lot of time working where you're trying to get somewhere. And I was busy trying to get somewhere, not really realizing that I was already there at the point. The first time I realized that I had made it was, and I'm not kidding, I was sitting in the audience listening to Oprah Winfrey induct me into the Television Academy Hall of Fame. That was the first time it occurred to me that I could relax. And that's way too late in the game for that to happen. And if I had, you know what I mean? Like I spent every time being like, that was great, what's next? Like, or I have to work harder. I never sat in a moment and went and took it in. And that moment taught me you have to sit in these moments and take them in, because every last one of them, they were all amazing. Even when I was worried that so we made the first episode of Grey's, I should have been thrilled and celebrating that. Instead, I was still worried about how to keep going and what was it going to be. So yeah, I would have enjoyed it more. I think that's important.
But it seems like you're enjoying it now.
I am enjoying it immensely now. That has become part of the thing. One of the things that happened with this new edition of Year of Yes is I sat down to write about where I am 10 years after writing the first book. And it was a real exploration of who I've become, and kind of a moment of realization of the places where I'd backslid and started saying no again, but also the places where I'd said yes and it had truly been life-changing. I can look at my life then and look at my life now and see the changes so clearly. And that's been an amazing thing. Yeah.
Do you still say yes to everything?
Not everything, but now I feel like I say yes to enough things that I feel comfortable saying no. Before I would be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say no. Now I feel very comfortable saying no to things, and I say yes to the things that excite me.
Your glass is half full. My glass is half full. We're going to close with a cheers, another toast. We're gonna toast the one moment that Shonda Rhimes is still chasing Is there one thing that you'd still love to do that you haven't done yet?
I'd love to write a play. I'd love to have a play on Broadway. That would be amazing to me.
Cheers to your Broadway play.
Cheers.
There you have it. And you thought you knew Shonda Rhimes. A big thanks to Shonda. The 10th anniversary of her book, The Year of Yes, the 10th anniversary edition. It is out now. And thank you so much. Thanks for joining me today on that journey with Shonda Rhimes. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. The podcast bosses that oversee this operation have encouraged me to tell you to subscribe or download. And I will see you back here next time. Enjoy. Mwah. I don't know why I'm blowing kisses. That's probably not the best way to end the podcast. I will see you back here next time for Glass Half Full. But for now, cheers.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.